I think that we should talk about porn. Because I think porn doesn't really get talked about in Christian community circles unless you're a boy. And if you're a boy, I think there are two assumptions made. Number one, you're probably watching it, and either number two, you're not telling anybody and it's just you, or you've told someone and you're working on dealing with that, whatever that means. At least as a Christian woman, that's all I ever hear about that. And then I think it's kind of just assumed that like girls just don't, I don't know, do people think girls, like Christian girls, shouldn't think about sex, like aren't interested in it, aren't interested in those kind of things? Because I don't think that that's true at all. I just think that people are too embarrassed to talk about it, and that a lot of people, if they bring it up, are kind of like shunned because people don't know how to deal with it, or they don't want to admit that they too also have a similar problem or have also struggled with it. And you might think, well, maybe you're a girl watching this and you're like, well, I have never watched porn, I don't watch porn, like, something's wrong with those people. But let me tell you, I can guarantee that not just Christian men struggle with watching porn. I bet there are just as many, if not more, women who watch porn, Christian or not. In fact, I pulled up some statistics because I love statistics because I'm a psychology major and we rely on research to prove things. And the stats that I'm looking at say that every second, $3 million is being spent on porn. Every second, 28,258 users are viewing it. Every second, 372 users are typing adult search terms into a search engine. And every 39 minutes, a porn video is being created in the United States. That doesn't even take into account China, South Korea, Japan, and Australia, the other leading countries in porn revenue. So I just think that there's no possible way that those are all men. There's too many there for that to be male. That'd be like a significant portion of most males, and it's not them. The ladies are into this too. And I am just proposing that I think women should be talking about this. Christian women need to be talking about this. And I don't really know what to talk about specifically with it because it's not really a thing yet. But I'm bringing this up because I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of not being able to be a completely real Christian. And that is the beauty of this blog for me, is that I can say things about myself as a Christian, and I think it opens up an avenue for people to be like, oh, well, she said something, it's okay for me to maybe, relate a little bit. Even if you don't talk to anybody else, you can relate with me. Reading, listening, watching, whatever you're doing, you don't even have to tell anybody, but I want you to know that if you're a woman, Christian or not, and you struggle with watching porn, then you are not alone. I've been through it. I've struggled with it at points in my life. Sometimes I still do. And I'm admitting that. And you know what else I'm admitting? That God still loves me just as much. And that even though I have addictions and things that I struggle with, that God is a God of restoration. And He promises to restore me. He promises to restore you. He promises to restore all of us because He loves us so much. He doesn't look at us as somebody who is stuck in addiction, in sin, whatever you want to call it. That's not how God views you. And I don't want you to feel like that because I've felt like that before and it's just awful. And I don't want you to spend your whole life thinking that you're trapped in something and you can never talk about it because people will hate you and never love you, because they will. And God will help you with things if you really want. If you want to change, God will help you change. Doesn't matter what it is. God will help you. And I don't know, I guess that was just something I was thinking about today because I was listening to the radio, Caleb, instead of country today because I was feeling some J-bops. And I listened to this song called Restore by Chris August. and I think it's about marriage or something, and I was just kind of thinking about that and how I think so many people my age don't really have a good understanding or good role models of what marriage is supposed to be, of what sex is supposed to be. Our brains have been really polluted, and it's hard for us to make sense of things, and so a lot of times we get a lot of guilt because we don't understand and no one will talk to us about things. So we just keep things we're not sure about or that make us feel guilty inside, and that leads to a lot of shame and heartache that I don't want people to have to live with, because that's not what God wants. He doesn't want you to live with that shame and that heartache. He wants you to be full of happiness and life and joy, because that's what he offers you. He offers to restore you, and there's so many verses in the Bible about restoration, because that means, like, God wants to restore you and make you new. So yeah. I mean, for our first talk about porn, I think this went pretty well. So even if you never mentioned that you watched this to anybody else, I know that you watched it. Well, you know that I know that you watched it. And if you don't talk to anyone else and you struggled with this, or you relate with it, or you didn't know that this was a problem that existed, now you know. So, happy Friday.